Szanowni Państwo, teraz nastał ten moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment has arrived when, during the season games, we will award the Medal of Freedom to Serhij Żadan, a Ukrainian writer who defends his fatherland by word and by action. He joined the Ukrainian National Guard last year. In one of his interviews, he said, "For me, war is a maximum aberration. What is happening in Ukraine is difficult to watch and be in it. It hurts so much. We only have one choice: to last and bring it to an end. If Russians occupy Ukraine, they will go forward. They do not consider Poland a state and Poles a nation." The laudation in favor of Serhij Żadan would be delivered by a Polish writer whom you've seen on the stage, engaged in helping Ukraine, the president of the Frontline Foundation, Andrzej Stasiuk.
Dobry wieczór Państwu.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor to say a few words about, and I am always confused about Serhij Żadan or about his books, but in the real literature, in the real epic, the best moments are when life mixes with literature. This will be so-called laudation. It's difficult to find a writer who supports his country with such determination as Serhij Żadan. Only Cormac McCarthy comes to my mind. Of course, it is a charge, but laudation has to be vivid and full of fascination. And that's what I learned from Żadan as well, reading all his books. Books that I was honored to publish in Polish language. I learned fireworks, being love. He was insolent enough to write about his country when no one wanted to pay a penny for his country. He was supporting it from the beginning, no matter that this country, Ukraine, is older than some would like to admit. Older than policy, older than communism, post-communism, older from Leviathan of capitalism. Because it's somewhere at the beginning of Dunai or Dnieper River, Achilles was supposed to be buried and Amazons lived on Don River. And according to Herodot, Taurids from Crimea paid a sacrifice to Phigenia. Those Marines whose ships broke. Conan the Barbarian was supposed to come from them. And we, at that time, we had somewhere a mud huts. And no one literally knew about us, not to mention Herodot. Would I like to say that characters from Żadan are ancestors of all these famous ancient nations? Sansanich from the Gay Club, Jehovah Witnesses, Chapai, Carburetor, Cacao, and all other legions of heroes whose author sends to battle with cruel, insensitive world, sending them against the abyss that you, ladies and gentlemen, might have seen recently, casts a huge shadow reaches with his terrible hands. We can say that they are full of warm blood, and this is their shield and their sword against the abyss. And even when they die, when they don't lose, someone takes their goal, someone carries their spark of life, which will never fade, thanks to people like him. I know it was very it's a pathos, and Serhij never uses it as a writer, but it's a laudation, and I hope he will forgive it to me. I only can compare him to a Herodot of our times. Let it be, because he was a companion of his time and of his pages, describing faithfully, sincerely. He described Ukraine not known to other nations, other people, which nations said only hic sunt leones, to have their own peace. Serhij is a child of Donbass and Kharkov. We never talked about that, but I imagine that he would like that his heart would be buried there, in that marvelous, beautiful place where apocalyptic of dying industrialism mixes with empty spaces of a landscape that takes away breath. I wanted to write more, but at some point something cracked inside me, because what I wrote until now relates to his previous, earlier books. And I thought to myself, I'm not capable to write about his recent wartime books. Neither about Internat, neither about Arabeski, his last book. I thought that writing about this kind of masterpiece is somehow dishonest. That is better to say about it. For example, Internat. I consider it to be one of the greatest wartime books that I had a chance to read. A book that has no war in it, no battleism, no soldiers, no firing, no shooting, maybe somewhere far away, but human loneliness, the world that breaks apart, the struggle, not like in his previous stories. It's a struggle to survive. Fight for humanity to survive is so vivid, so humanitarian. I know it is the wrong word, but it's so human-centered that it is impossible, how to put it, that it's impossible to write more directly about these tectonic plates that move and decide about our fate. Internat, Serhij Żadan, is a story about Donbass, about that first war, and then Arabeski, a book published a few months ago in Poland. It's a very small book, tiny book. It's also about war, but it is a story about people who returned from this war. For a moment, they listen to it, they are afraid of it. In a series of interviews, Żadan said that it is difficult to write, but on the other side, it's very easy. But it's ethically doubtful to write about war directly. He saw different things. He saw war as it is, as a soldier. But he has inside this sensitivity not to use it, not to build a kind of a battleistic, heroistic narrative.
Almost nothing happens here. The war is far away, and we feel goosebumps because we can imagine it is going to look like that when it comes to us, somewhere in a distance. But it will touch us. It will ruin our humanity without shooting, without gunfires, without all the battlefields, that our private humanity would be subjected to the most severe trial. As I said in the beginning, Serhij accompanied his country since the very beginning. It is doing so now. And the change of the mood is, I don't know what to say. This change of this tone is most sensitive, most, I don't know. I will finish this laudation. It makes no sense. Serhij is a great writer. He is with us. He came from the war. In a moment, he will collect a medal, though he's worth more medals, a whole breast of medals. That's what I wanted to say. I'm lucky to be the publisher of his books. I'm lucky to be his friend. And I feel admiration, respect, only the warmest feelings. More or less, I need to highlight that we wouldn't be here, this award, these books, if not for the enormous achievement of Michał Petryk, who translated them. It's brilliant. You read it like it's originally Polish. Ladies and gentlemen, in a moment we'll honor Serhij. And I need to say that we keep collecting money for his military unit, for his army. Thank you very much for this chaotic speech. I did my best. Thank you very much. Andrzej, stay with us on the stage. Hey, please join us. That's a unique moment for us. It's the very first time when we are awarding this medal, the Medal of Freedom, to Serhij Żadan, considering his outstanding attitude, creation, performance, and in the name of Polish-Ukrainian friendship and building the understanding that it's in the best Polish interest to support Ukraine, no matter what the circumstances are. Thank you very much. This is the medal for you. It's accompanied by cash award of 10,000 euros. And please take the floor. Thank you very much for this award. I would like to deliver a short speech. I hope you will hear the interpretation in Polish and English. I will read it in Ukrainian. Before I came here to Poland, I went with my brother to a cemetery. We went to bury our friend. He was military for over the years. He was fighting. Then he went to a surgery and he died. The urn with his ashes was kept for 2 months at a mom. In the morning, we came to pick up his mother. We took the urn, we bought the flowers, and went to the cemetery. The undertaker was digging the wet soil. He worked fast and sure. He said, "Uncle Serhij, write a song about us, the employees of a cemetery, our work." He quickly dug the hole. He put the urn in it, covered with soil, and recorded the buried place in the special logbook, though it's difficult not to remember the place. The beginning of the ale where they buried the military who died. Next to the bitumen road, there is a cross, and the flagpoles begin. We met him in 2014 in Maidan. Then the war broke out, and he went to fight. He came back every now and then. We met, we talked. Once we met, and he put a couple of shells on the table. "I brought you a souvenir from Crimea," he said. "We had been there not long ago." At the cemetery, his mom said, "Good, he's here among his peers. It's supposed to be an honor." You can't disagree with her. Today, we choose not only whom to be when alive, whom to be with when we are alive, and whom to rest with after death. We want to be close to ours. We don't want to have any doubts about those around us. What am I striving at? We keep talking about freedom. Freedom as the highest value. Its importance, its undeniability. Liberty is an idea, a concept. It drives our sad and contradictory civilization. It penetrates like a thread through our culture, history, politics. It does not evoke denials. It's well perceived. It sells well. But what is its true meaning? What is its value? How far societies, political systems, and cultures are based on the idea of freedom, its foundation, its domination, how far they understand the subjectivity of freedom, its everyday presence, how far it is necessary for man who is born in an independent state, whose borders, whose state institutions are not threatened by anyone, whose identity is not denied, whose value is not questioned. In other words, is unthreatened freedom truly understood freedom? As it happens, the 20th century, with its two bloody wars, so similar to two surgical interventions into a patient's body, with the total judgment of the evil and the illusion of understanding and repentance, became a history. A history, as it seemed to us, that we learned by heart, the one that would have never an opportunity to repeat itself. If hardly anyone sustained the Adorno's idea of incapability of write poems after the Auschwitz-Birkenau, the unacceptance of imperialism after the fall of the Berlin Wall seemed clear. The new century, the new millennium began, and the history of Europe repeats itself in its worst instances. Europe again witnesses a war, not somewhere in a mythical, abstract East, not outside of the borders of civilization. It's ongoing for 12 years. It's been ongoing for 12 years in the territory of an independent state, which considers itself to be a part of Europe, a part of European space, also a space of European ideas and values. And under each of the flags, which are getting more and more on this wet Kharkiv soil, there is a European man, a European woman who follow this ethical and legal philosophy of our civilization. It's humanistic basics, the concepts of freedom, dignity, and law. Most of them were born at the end of the 20th century or even at the beginning of the 21st century. They had all the chances and hopes to be the generation of Europeans who will live without a great war. It's obvious that the world is far from being perfect. It's clear that wars in the world will never end. But in Europe, so richly flooded in blood, the shadow of war was absent in the past decade. That gave this illusion and grounds for careful optimism. But as it turned out, evil is fixed in its capacities to grow and breaking the reality. Again, we are in the circumstances of war. Again, there is a need to defend. All of a sudden, we were in a situation when our freedom was threatened, when the need arose to fight for it. Because what are hundreds of thousands of men and women born in that country defending? A country that they have their citizenship, families, cities, future. In other words, they have their own freedom, the freedom to be themselves, the freedom of choice. For us, at some moment, one day, freedom lost its abstract meaning. It turned to be extremely realistic. It is here. You can lose it, but you can keep it. Lost freedom is nothing abstract. It's reality in which Ukrainians live today under Russian occupation. Occupation is a territory without freedom, a territory when you cannot be yourself, you cannot follow your values and principles. It's difficult for me personally. It's painful for me to talk about it. My little homeland, my hometown where I grew, is now occupied. My school is occupied. Streets where I used to walk, the stadium, the library, shops, but most of all, the people of the city are under occupation. Those of them who couldn't or didn't want to leave. Ukraine has its experience in this war of restoring occupied territories. This is restoring freedom to its citizens, an experience of survival, of free existence, the experience of being under the occupant's rule. It shows the fragility and how weak the rules we have adopted are. You may speak, you want to fight for your own dignity. You may speak about untouchability of your human right or your identity borders. You may appeal to the concept of law and justice, but there comes the one for whom your words mean nothing, for whom your beliefs, your values, your understanding of the world is not important. Then you face a choice. To defend your freedom or lose it. This mental war between chauvinism and evil on the one hand, and people who want to fight for themselves on the other, reminds us about the outlines of freedom, its essence, its weight, its visibility. Freedom does not require ongoing work. It requires your participation, your understanding. And here, at this conversation, in this remarkable company, when we speak about company as something given, freedom as a need, we can ask ourselves a question: how far the existence, the demand for freedom in this world is obvious? How far European societies who declare the idea of freedom as shaping for themselves how far they really understand the true value of their own freedom. Europe is a complex, multi-layer, contradictory, but anyway, it is united. It enjoys being with its freedom, but you cannot ignore its sensibility, its contractual stability, and everyday threats. As it turned out, in the past 100 years, the world has not changed that much. It still has this bad inclination to flirting with the evil, which is so devastating, this ignoring the understanding of its own borders, outlines, landscapes. What is now happening in Ukraine is the reminder that we are all hostages to our history, our historic choice, our historic traumas. The need of freedom did not come out of the blue. It's rooted in our past, in our memory. But our future very much depends on it. Secondly, the value of our freedom may be different. Somebody can pay for it by losing parliamentary election. Someone else pays with dozens of flags in a cemetery. We are in very different statuses. We go through so different, uncomparable experiences. The experience of survival cannot be compared to the survival of living. How can you compare these? How can they exist hand in hand? Obviously, it will be easier for us to communicate if we do not forget that we are all linked, regardless of our political or economic systems, by the desire for freedom, the right of choice. And it also would be good to remember about thorough and common communication, that we all in the world are linked by laws, rights, the right to our diversity, to our separation, to our freedom. Freedom still fills us with the sense, with all its seriousness, with its gravity.
Po tych ważnych słowach Serhija
After these important words of Serhij Żadan about the price of freedom, there's nothing much left for me than to announce the end of the first day of the Games of Intellect. But on this stage, just in a moment, a Mitch and Mitch concert. You are warmly welcomed to see and hear. And tomorrow, a new second day of Freedom Games. Have a good
Telewizja Polska to więcej tego, co widzowie cenią najbardziej. Pasjonujące filmy i seriale, a w obsadzie najbardziej gorące nazwiska. Największe sportowe imprezy i momenty, które przejdą do historii. Bieżące wydarzenia, którymi żyje Polska i świat. Przebojowe koncerty, które łączą w zabawie wszystkich Polaków. Znakomite spektakle, które gromadzą rekordową publiczność. Telewizja Polska. Otwórz się na więcej.
W kinie doceniam prawdziwe emocje,
Na boisku pilnuję czystej gry.
W kuchni poszukuję autentycznych smaków.
ale w internecie jest to trudniejsze.
W internecie wobec informacji też trzeba być sędzią. Dezinformacja jest jak bramka strzelona ze spalonego.
Więc jeśli coś we mnie wzbudza emocje, daję sobie czas. Może ktoś specjalnie chce mnie zagotować, bym uległa manipulacji.
Filtruj informacje.
Sprawdzaj ich źródła.
Nie masz pewności? Nie udostępniaj.
Postaw na czysty przekaz.
Polska Stolica Kultury. Jesteś na miejscu.
Do zgłoszeń? Gotowi?
Start!
Ja zgłoszę bibliotekę!
Ja, pierwszy pasem w gminie.
Ja amfiteatr gra od naszej orkiestry. Wszystko w waszych rękach. Co powstanie dzięki wsparciu totalizatora sportowego w twojej okolicy? Zgłoś obiekt sportowy lub kulturalny. Wejdź na stronę gdygrasz.pl, bo gdy grasz, wszystko gra.
It can look like this. Or like this. It is threatened. But it is our responsibility to protect it. For each person, it means something different. But when we reach it, we all know what it looks like, what it sounds like, or how it feels. And if we all fight for it, it will eventually bring us together. Freedom.
Kiedy zapala się lampka on air, to jest najlepszy moment.
Nie ma jednego instrumentu, który lubię najbardziej. To zawsze jest kontekst.
Uwielbiam sport bez obrazu właśnie z tej perspektywy, kiedy to ja mogę ten obraz kreować.
Pusty stadion nie jest cichy. Tam gołębie startują.
Jak ja bym chciała, żeby z mojego radia było słychać "będzie okej".
Ono może być cichutko w tle. Radio, które jest przyjacielem tego odbiorcy, przyjacielem człowieka.
Do PKO Banku Polskiego przenosi się nowy klient.
Weź się. Przenieść się jest easy. Czaruś, wytłumacz.
Otwierasz konto w PKO Banku Polskim i masz święty spokój. Przeniosą kasę i zlecenia stałe, a pracodawcę poinformują. Ogarniesz to przez internet. Bo to dobry bank jest.
Ej, widzę cię. Wolisz w oddziale? Dawaj do nas.
Otwórz konto w PKO Banku Polskim i dołącz do 12 milionów klientów. PKO, twój bank polski.
So we just had an emergency landing in Poland, in Łódź. Yeah. Don't worry, guys. We won't be here for long. Lads. Hello, vlog. So I know we were supposed to show you some wild animals and a bit more sun, but
yeah, instead we have to spend 2 days in this boring place.
come on.
Did you say boring? I will show you beautiful nature and animals and even more.
and you will see what this region has to offer. Deal?
So, we said yes, because why not, right? And this girl took us around the whole region. We ate pierogies. We saw some Polish art. We saw some wild animals. We got spiritual. And after all, we fell in love with this place.
Well, Atlas Network is, as the name suggests, a network, and it's global. We work all around the world. We're based in the U.S. It's a network, that is to say, organizations that share common values of limited government, of free enterprise, personal liberty, of personal responsibility.
Atlas Network provides training and support to help build capacity, but most importantly, we give our partners the tools they need to be successful.
Myślisz, że to ktoś wyjątkowy, miłośnik kultury, kto sypie cytatami z pamięci. A to może być ktoś, kto na wakacje pakuje książkę, tę samą co rok temu. To możesz być ty. Bo czytanie nie jest dla wybranych, jest dla wszystkich. Podziel się tym.
Mam plan na bezpieczną firmę. To plan firmowy z cybertarczą, która blokuje zagrożenia w sieci.
Cyberbezpieczeństwo? Masz od tego Orange. Teraz cybertarcza za 0 zł we wszystkich planach firmowych, a w wybranych smartfony 50% taniej. Orange tu jest.
PL Music Video Awards, festiwal polskich wideoklipów, spotkania, projekcje, warsztaty, do tego gala finałowa i wybór najlepszych polskich teledysków. Zapraszamy do Łodzi 4-6 grudnia, szczegóły na www.plmva.com.